Now we get to see how it works out on the stage. Experience and nerves going to be very important heading into these matches.
And the Kennen ban immediately towards RF. He won both of their playoff games against Imagine playing Kennen, and the one time they lost, he didn't pick it up. So good ban there, and an Olaf ban towards Chris. It was picked in the Cloud9 Tempest set. Both games.
Yeah, that's what you expect to see here. Thresh ban away from Remilia. That's not a surprise at all. Very scary support player on the side of Renegades. So I very much like these bans, though. They feel very targeted at their opponents. Elise and Rek'Sai being the big two that Shrimp is very good on. And if he's okay to play either, you don't have to rush pick it there.
I do like all the bans, though. Targeting RF,
up,
targeting Crumbs' best champion, targeting Remelia's best champion, and forcing her onto something like Nautilus. Possibly the Alistar as well. So you have to think this over. Braum's still on the table, so there's a lot of support so you can actually go back and forth. It's not so pinched.
And I'm glad you brought up Braum, because we said there's no mid laners banned at all right now. And so when you consider that Alex Itch, actually, he even said in an interview in around week 2, he just wants to play a bunch of backline, really annoying poke champions all the time. Peek and Wolf said that's all he plays as well. If he's just going to play a Varus or a Jace or something, Braum is one of the very best picks into that kind of style. And Coast going to pinch a couple of, just pinch of support with that.
I like that. I also like Renegade's bans. The Sivir, she's fallen off a little bit in popularity, just a very tiny bit, but she's still extremely good in the hands of Coast. Coast, every single person in their position leads their role for kills, except for Kongquan, who leads that role in supports, leads the league in assists.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely incredible. It just shows how much Coast likes to fight. And even then, they're about 50 assists ahead of the next person for Kongquan. Same with Shrimp.
Interesting, though, Renegades. I like this Kog'Maw pickup, especially alongside a Nunu. Crumbs could be an absolute terror, one of the best counter jungler defenders and counter junglers as well. And the fact that this Kog'Maw could go onto Maple Street, who again carried them in the semifinals, but could just be a poke champ for Alex here. I think Renegades' first 2 picks were very solid.
The question, though, is that a Maple Street Kog'Maw, and then Alex ends up getting a Zir later? So it's a flex pick. Also, it takes away one of Peek and Wolf's best champions, which is the AP Kog'Maw mid. And Peek and Wolf is the guy who wants to sit in the backline, Varus mid, poke champion, make sure that he can actually deal damage without putting himself too much at risk.
So here's interesting, is now Renegades have to pick their top laner next round, which would allow Chris counterpick, as long as Coast take a second to wait here. And I think that's actually the correct choice. Chris, easily the most dominant top laner in the Challenger Series.
He does about 200.
Setting him ahead would be really nice.
He does about 200 more damage per minute than the next highest top laner in Challenger. He's a very carry-oriented top laner that likes to get kills on you and snowball the lane.
Well, interesting science coming out from Team Coast right now, though. It feels like Lucian, despite all the complaints, he had a really bad professional win record, and he's got a low win record in solo queue. A lot of teams have been really going back to this Lucian more than before of late, actually, and it's going to be picked up here. Of course, Lucian Braum, a great dual lane in specific scenario, but still interesting to see the one picked up when there's still champions like Kalista on the field.
That's true, but this was always one of Mash's champions, right? He loved the Lucian, he loved the lane bully presence, but combining that with Braum, I remember when Braum was coming out, everybody was so worried about the interaction between him and Lucian, where if you just got the Q on, boom, Light Slinger, you're able to get your passive 2 times.
Ooh, well, Renegades, I'm actually surprised they show Lulu right here. They want so badly to give RF a good matchup, but they show what this comp is already about. That is almost definitely mid lane Lulu. That is, I think, guaranteed to be support Morgana at this point, and it's just to protect the Cog.
I love this, though, because Renegades recently, they started to have a little bit of a falling off, and then in playoffs, Urgot and Graves from Maple Street, he was the highest damage dealer on his team in their victories. And to the point that Alex Itch was actually building Zeke's Harbinger mid lane to give Maple Street the crit. So this looks like a composition where they're saying, Maple Street, get us into the LCS.
And it might just happen here. So Azir does get locked in for Peek and Wolf. I think Gnar, probably the right blind pick here for Chris. Can be lane dominant, can be a great split pusher. Honestly, Gnar just a great all-around champion, especially for dominant players like Chris here. So Team Coast have their lineup locked in. Just seems like a pretty solid all-around team. Not a lot of poke, but they've got a lot of playmaking.
A lot of options. Good wave clear, good damage, good sustained damage, bit of upfront burst too, good catch. It's pretty well-rounded.
Yeah. So well-rounded team comp for Team Coast. That's going to be their goal here. Renegades very clearly focused on this Kog'Maw, and there's still the small chance Lulu goes top and it's Kog'Maw mid. It just feels very unlikely here for them. But the mind games could be interesting here, but it looks like just a big Juggernaut. The emphasis on Maple Street. Top lane pick. They know it's Gnar up there. I don't think Lulu would survive that matchup well. So what will RF play into this one? Maokai is up. Probably makes the most sense in this kind of composition.
They just swap it and go for an Urgot or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's still a possibility. That's the threat here.
Oh!
It is top Lulu, and Zed comes out of LCS.
But this is exactly what Pekin Wolf thought wasn't going to happen. He thought LCS was just going to go on poke mid laners, and now this is pretty much as an assassin. You can get this is the most assassiny assassin pretty much in the game at the moment.
I think he's the most assassiny assassin. You're absolutely right here. The question is, though, exactly what will he be trying to assassinate here? We do have Exhaust in the mid laner from Pekin Wolf. Braum exists as well, and there are some pretty decent disengage tools and counter-engage tools available for Coast, so it's still somewhat of a threat. Renegades, though, putting their weight now on two people's shoulders. LCS in the mid lane, Zed. Maple Street on the AD carry Kog'Maw.
So they're putting it on the veterans of the LCS, people who have competed in it, giving LCS the Zed, see what he can do on that champion. Very excited to see it. And like you said, the Lucian coming up as well. It was picked yesterday, actually, or earlier this morning. First pick.
Yeah, it was first picked by Najin against SKT in Game 1. OQ, of course, a great AD carry here. So interesting to look at some of the matchups as well. I really like Morgana into Braum, by the way. Your ulti goes through his shield, and you can just black shield the passive in the queue very easily. So matchup-wise, I think Kog'Maw actually will survive, which is always a risk against a champion like Lucian. So I actually do like the Renegades bottom lane as far as the match is concerned. Now, guys, all throughout this match, we'll be keeping tabs on who you think will earn a spot in the North American LCS tonight. Share your predictions with us on Twitter. Tweet at LOL Esports with the hashtag CSTWin or hashtag RNGWin. We'll check your votes on the Rift in a few minutes. Guys, Game 1 of the best of 5 is coming up. The winner joins the LCS in 2016. And here we go.
Those graphics last like 5 seconds longer than I anticipate. It's awesome. All right, we're into the game. We're on the Rift. And I want to see how Shrimp handles this Nunu from Crumbs, because Shrimp is all about counter jungling. If Crumbs is just taking those camps very quickly and there's no way you can really contest them, Shrimp's going to have to kill him. But it's really hard to kill a Nunu.
Absolutely, yeah, as well. It's going to be up to Crumbs to make some big plays. And the thing is, he says that winning on the LCS stage is, of course, a big deal for him. He's looking to get back into the LCS with a win tonight.
I want to get back into the LCS real bad. And to be honest, I feel like I have this final opportunity against Coast. You know you have the relegation matches afterwards, but this one's really the one that makes it for me. I mean, if we lose, then it's very heartbreaking, and then you got to get back into it, but nobody wants to do that. So I'm taking this as, you know, we got like this final opportunity.
All right, well, Crumbs, starting off on one of the junglers that can make an absolutely devastating impact on the game. A well-played Nunu just makes it feel like there are no options for the enemy team.
This is the style he likes to play.
Yeah, it is.
He likes to play that choke-out style, get the vision control, and especially when it's the most warding jungler and challenger versus the least warding jungler and challenger, there's going to be some gaps in vision. Hopefully Conquan can make up for it. He does lead his position in wards, and it's almost that TIP situation where your jungler's not warding, he's killing people. So
your support does it.
And your support does it more than anybody else in the league to compensate for it.
Yeah, absolutely true. It's actually interesting. In this kind of lineup, Coast, they are most like Impulse in player style, I would say. It's kind of interesting. It's a random kind of tangent to go for, but we are starting in the game. RF will be double jungling with Crumbs. Standard stuff here. Their top lane, their dual lane rather, sent to the top side. Maple and Remilia going to get their farm going. Coast basically doing exactly a mirrored start. You see the double jungle with the top laner is the standard early game for most teams.
Helping him out there. Very standard. See what ends up going awry in the lane swap. We're seeing a lot of teams take 2 camps, immediately go for a push before the cannon minion gets there. It's become that kind of new craze, especially when there's no Olaf in the game.
Right now, Coast jungling with all 3. Looks like a similar situation as Lulu's still running around.
Oh, is he going to contest or gank Pekin Wolf in the mid lane? We see everybody coming down on the sides.
Conquan goes to spot to figure out where people are. RF and Crumbs are heading mid. Pekin Wolf does not have a way to dash out. Here's the Ice Blast in. Has to flash early. And that is Summoner Spell down. Good gank by Renegades.
And this is what Renegades needs. We saw at the start of the season, Crumbs and Alex each had the best synergy out of all mid and jungles in Challenger. And it was how they were abusing teams.
Oh, they're coming back. How about 4 people mid? How about learning from TSM in this one?
If you flash land
Pekin Wolf is not yet 3.
But this also just allows Alex to zone. Oh, looking for the binding. Looking for the binding.
And dodges it cleanly. Takes a little bit of damage, but out he goes. Pekin Wolf identifying how much of a risk he was in, but the problem is this lane is basically frozen there. That cannon minion still being up for a few seconds means it's not going to get any better for Pekinwolf here.
But looking at the side lanes, they already have this bot lane turret down to half HP. Top, they haven't even pushed it to the turret just yet. So they're actually losing turret DPS while camping Pekinwolf. So Alex has to make an advantage out of this at some point.
I think they're still fine, though. Spell Thieves is plenty of damage. You can always Blood Boil someone to know. Actually, Renegades not pushing in for the turret. They're not going to kill it nearly as fast as Coast will, trying to revisit the jungle and revisit maybe some ganks. So I want to see what happens in the next roughly 1.5 minutes. If the lanes can swap back, Chris will get this turret gold. He will be ahead of RF in money.
If they bounce this properly, I feel like this is a mistake from RNG.
Well, it was a bet, right? They tried to knock down the mid laner champion. And, you know, they pay for that by losing pressure on a turret.
Yeah, they got the flash, though, so there is pressure in Alex Each's favor. Now they're going to get this early dragon onto Coast's side, so they get an uncontested turret take. They swap Maple up to the top lane. They get free farm over to Chris. And I feel like RNG are just being sluggish around the map right now. They're giving up so much, and they aren't getting anything save for the flash from Pekinwolf. And if Pekinwolf is just going to be able to just play safe and do his style that way, it's all for naught.
I absolutely agree. It was a risk that so far has not paid off, but they still got 3 minutes to knock that kill with the flash still being down. Pekinwolf is being pushed around a little bit, doing some damage to Alex Ich, but this Zed still has potions and is not going to really get killed anytime all that soon. We have the lane swapping back, though the dual lane is back. Mash has double longsword versus a extra Doran's Blade actually up against Maple Street. This 2-on-2 will be interesting. Remilia has some new wards. Kon has a Ruby Crystal and some wards for himself, so again, we are seeing the payoff of having that turret going down, the global gold, and the small farm lead here.
Yeah, Chris getting himself to about a 16 CS lead, and he got
600 gold right now.
He also got soul turret gold. They gave him all the gold, so taking it. Ooh,
nice bind.
Walk right back into it.
All right, Remilia so far 1 for 2 on binds. Honestly, both of them pretty hard to hit, so solid to get one of them so far. But I really am interested in this 2-on-2. I think it means so much for Maple Street to get ahead.
Crumbs. There's no mana.
That's going to get him. Maple Street's got nowhere to go. There's the first blood, and there it is. It finally pays off. Shows back up. The Ice Blast, the double flash to get the kill.
And the last time these guys played each other was all about camping the mid lane, but Shrimp was always there earlier on his Lee Sin, kicking Crumbs back. Now, in this matchup, Crumbs is just a little bit further ahead of him. Crumbs is clearing the jungle and getting to these objectives right on time. But look at this.
That's why Morgana's great. You can't actually trigger the Braum passive against Black Shield. It's just impossible if you time it right. So target selection going to be a very big deal, switching and going for someone else instead. That'll leave me able to hit some damage. Crumbs puts an aggressive ward down to make sure Chris is not going to have any teammates coming in. And a red buff Nunu plus a Lulu with plenty of CC. Just not enough done.
I want to keep a track of Pekinwolf CS because he doesn't have barrier, he doesn't have flash, and it's already level 6 for Alex Each. Goes for the Seeker's Arm Guard early, but they're still just even in CS in mid lane.
Even in CS, but still first blood assist is nice. It's 200 gold for that one. Gotta feel solid if you're Alex here. He's got the Vamp Scepter and Boots, which are very important in the matchup. Shrimp is getting revealed though, so RF's just harassing him as he tries to steal Gromp. I don't know if it's gonna be, yeah, I think this is a big greedy by Shrimp, honestly. I think that was probably not the best. And it's Nunu gonna try to steal it away. They both have Smite. They just fight for the Gromp. Nunu's supposed to win that one though.
Does he though?
Mega Nard, RF flash the wall! Oh wow, RF! Just didn't see it coming. They didn't even burn flash, that was just Chris finding it.
Chris just jumped over to him, got him right into the wall so quickly, but that's the experience advantage, right? Yep. RF still level 4. Was not expecting Chris to be level 6 already. He's 41 to 14 CS.
Oh,
that's
man.
the advantage they've given him.
I mean, I think that is the big key advantage of Coast, though, is Chris is objectively the best top laner in Challenger, and RF, I think, is not top 2, so that actually disparity is rather big, and Chris, so far, abusing that well. We still sit a 1,000 gold game. Kills traded equally. That turret still means quite a bit. Alex gets the blue buff from Crumbs. Crumbs only level 4 on this Nunu, whereas Shrimp is already 5 and well on his way towards 6.
Thinking about how Lulu fits in this composition, it'll be part of the 4-man unit, and then Alex Each will be the split pusher later on.
Yeah.
So Alex Each is really the one who has to be able to beat Chris in the split push, so if Chris gets further ahead of RF, it's not that big a deal for RF. It's a huge deal for Alex.
Interesting things on that, though, is we have seen Renegades play many Alex Each split push-centric compositions. He's played Yasuo, he's played Irelia in the mid lane. They've been successful games for that team. But one thing that's interesting, though, is Chris is against a magic damage top laner, but late game is facing a physical damage split pusher. And that's going to be interesting as far as itemization choices. If he goes Hex Drinker, his Alex Zitch matchup gets much worse.
I don't think he'll go Hex Drinker. There isn't really enough
so
magic
either,
damage to actually warrant that. But if he does,
he's against Kog'Maw, right? Like there is magic damage on the team fight in general.
Yeah, that's
Chris
true.
can't ignore MR in a team fight. It's very interesting. Like, it's a weird, peculiar scenario for Chris to be in. Oh. Lands the stun, beautifully done. Still level 5. Lulu not quite having the ultimate, about 3 minions away from that one. But as the house misses, all is well.
It still looks like a freeze for Chris, too. Chris just has every advantage in this lane. This is looking terrible for Renegades at this moment. RF is going to get put even further behind, and he has to risk himself. You see, he backs all the way up from the lane, all the way back from experience, because Shrimp showed himself on the bottom side of the map.
Yep. And that just means more and more farm comes in for this Gnar. Lulu having to hide. And by the way, bot lane is a freeze if he wants it, so it just gets worse and worse over time. Top lane, though, is under a little bit of pressure. Crumbs slinking around to make a play, but Shrimp is coming up behind him. I don't think this turret dive is going to work. There's not enough damage to actually kill off Braum or Lucian. Shrimp now realizing this was warded. I think he did see the Nunu. Okay, now he for sure knows Nunu's around. He could have killed that ward, actually. Switch to melee form, attack, W, attack, attack. You get it. Minor misplay. Missed a ward kill. Lack of applause for the missed ward kill. Chris, though, level 7 versus 5. RF is getting absolutely destroyed, and with Nunu spotted, they know RF has no teammates around, can't get the hop to land, though, and once again, they push in. They know they knocked around the jungler. Maple Street just doesn't take much damage, though, yet again. It's Black Shield very strong against Braum.
And if the Kog'Maw is able to just stay even in CS like this all throughout the game, definitely has better scaling.
Oh, this is actually pretty good for Coast, though. They're going to have awkward recalls from Renegades. Maple will finish the recall on Kog, and Morgana Nunu can't really defend this turret very well. Mash might choose to recall instead and push the turret down, but it was actually... pressure was available here.
It's really big that they weren't able to get that turret early on. I want to go back to that because they traded a turret for a flash on the mid laner, which
became a kill.
Which ultimately resulted in a kill. But trading the turret and the pressure in the long lane is punishing RF so hard because Chris is playing it definitely the way you should be playing it.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. It's having secondary effects here that I wasn't necessarily considering, and maybe that Renegades weren't considering, but Coast have reacted to incredibly well here. Now, thankfully, it is top Lulu, right? She doesn't exactly have a giant gold requirement to be a useful champion, and maybe it'll be okay, and the gold lead might lie to you. But Coast already got Dragon 1. That was also part of what happened because Renegades swapped their duo top side. That's the tax you pay for choosing those lanes. And Coast on respawn with the top laners, or the duo laners still up there. No threat at all. Braum already got the Dragon. Coast get a very clean, very easy Dragon pickup, and they get farther ahead.
So Chris shoves out the bottom lane, gets his last bit of CS, and then he goes top.
With
and
teleport.
Now he's up against Maple Street, so you can make a play on the opposite side of the map. And, of course, the Kog'Maw's not going to be able to follow you.
Yeah, that's very true. So interesting now. Now there's actually gank pressure on the bottom side that Coast can exert. We'll see what happens. Remilia once again wants to make this happen. Kanpun gonna face into the brush, has to put the shield up, but here comes the ulti in from Zed. Exhaust may not be enough. Ignite comes in, Crumbs gets the kill. Peekaboo doing some damage though. TP comes in a bit late. Remilia, one hit from Dead, can't quite reach. There's the hop, there's the Q. Boomerang from downtown. Chris picks it up. 2-2 in this game, and mid lane pressured.
This is the play I was talking about. RF doesn't even TP, and he's too busy trying to CS. Wild Growth would have been very helpful there if he had TP'd on time.
This is incredibly well played by Coast. Their early to mid game is absolutely wonderful here. The laning phase itself was a bit of a wash, but their mid game plays so strong here. 12 minutes in, mid lane tier 2 already under fire. They're gonna kill it, and the flash cocoon! They're going for Crumbs. They're gonna get him. Wow, Coast with the hardcore dive pays off.
Cocoon doesn't pull aggro. If you land it, you're
so
just like,
solid.
Oh, there we go. I mean, now we can kill you. There's no reason to not go for that play. Really well played there by Coast. Crumbs way too far out, had no business being there.
And now Conquan is dueling Maple Street. She and Kog'Maw actually gonna get stunned up here. I don't know how well it's going to go after this one, but it's not looking the best. Oh, dodge the Q. That was a pretty big one. The slow might have made a big difference.
Oh man, when Braum is just going to town on your Kog'Maw, feel pretty bad about how the game's been going. 4,000 gold advantage, 12 minutes in.
Wow. Yeah, very big lead for Coast right here. And a very, very well played mid game.
Conquan soaks up so much damage here. The Death Mark isn't going to kill him, so he actually needs the Ignite on top of it from Alex. They immediately turn. Alex is too far forward. He's stunned, so he actually has to blow his flash to get out of there. But Chris's TP and hop boomerang, really, really nicely executed there.
You know, Conquan actually might have lived. I think he misclicked Exhaust and hit Remillia instead of Alex Ich. If he stops 35% of Zed's damage, I don't think he dies there. And even still, it was still a team fight win for Coast. They're looking so good right now. The lane once again swapped back to the top side. Dragon's already gone, and Baron's not for 7 minutes, so really the lane you go for is only about what turret you want to kill. And it looks like Coast are happy to keep pressuring this. For nothing to kill mid lane, nothing to kill bot lane.
And Pika Wolf has stayed up in CS this entire time.
Yeah.
Everybody on Coast is just beating their lane opponent in CS. Even supports, right? Doesn't mean much, but even supports.
Yeah, that's kind of free. That's a bit lying.
I know. It's still... Supports
but
usually
right.
don't count those in those.
I
But
know,
anyway,
I know.
They're still winning in CS despite the kill onto Pekinwolf and all the pressure that they put in the mid lane. It hasn't paid off just yet. Zhonya's Hourglass completed. He's ready to be able to pressure other lanes, and you see him going top because Alex has 2 turrets taken mid.
Yeah, well, mid lane's going to go to equivalency, but we've still got the top laner here, or the top lane here, the mid laner coming up there. Alex not going to make it there. Turns back around to push the mid lane down, but yeah, the attempt of play is still happening. The gold lead now 4,500, is actually growing over time.
And with everybody in the top lane, Chris just gets to pressure bottom and throw boomerangs at RF all day.
This is actually a risk, though, because RF has teleport and Chris does not, so the chance of a 5v4 is real. This is a risk from Coast. I actually don't think they should be too aggressive because they have such a lead. Wait for the TP timer, and it's a safer way to play the game.
I don't know how scared I am, though, of the Lulu.
Just it being 5v4 at all, though, right? It's just, to me, it's such a risk.
It is a risk. But honestly, compared to other top laners or people who could actually TP in, a level 8 Lulu coming in
that's fair.
Is probably one of the least scary.
Yeah. And right now, it seems like Coast aren't too worried about it. Shrimp cannot walk another brush forward, as he will be revealed by the trinket. Unfortunately, they know about this, so Renegades gotta be able to play safely enough. Poke on Maple doesn't really much matter. Decent culling. Doesn't do too much damage to the champions, though. Ooh, good zaps, though. They're getting the health bars lower slowly and over time. Shrimp trying to keep the wards up, and he did, by the way, go Sightstone.
Yep.
That's actually Juggernaut Merc Tread Sightstone. That's actually the most utility focus you can go on Elise here. Oh, greedy farmer, but still playing for the team quite nicely. Being the second frontline tank behind Braum. And top lane nearly going down. Crumb's not able to defend this one much either. Pekinwolf making his second trip back to the top side. And this next wave should mean the turret going down. Alex is actually recalling on a ward. I
do like the Cinder Hulk on Elise in this case because they already have so much magic damage with the Zir. You just need frontliners to keep people away.
Yep, I think it's the correct choice for sure. We're going to see top lane and outer going down. 4 turrets to 0, 2 dragons to none. The next one comes up in only a minute. Coast actually traditionally have the longest average wins of Challenger. They take so long to close their games out. They almost always get Dragon 5. You had the stat, it's like 4.1 dragons per game.
They average about 3.9 dragons a game.
Yeah.
That's ludicrous. 4 dragons a game.
Average of 4 dragons a game. Like that, yeah, that is exceptionally high here. And Coast are in such a fast pace to get Dragon 5 early, though. And just watching Coast games, they're going to get Dragon 5 this game. I'll just call it now. And I'll be wrong, but that's okay. Yeah. Honestly, this is such a good setup for Coast. Everything that could have gone right pretty much did.
Yeah. I think Renegades, it all fell apart when solo turret gold was given to Chris. Chris was given a lane freeze, and then Renegades got a flash mid, which resulted in a kill. That's not a worth trade, especially the way that Coast played it out. They played it out perfectly well. I do want to give props to RF, though. He has remained -50 in an abysmal matchup. Yeah. He was down 2 levels in a bunch of farm, and it just split with Chris from now. That is actually super hard. I would have fed if I were him. And actually now top lane getting pushed back in. Maple Street off of a solid recall timing. Going to go back up in here. Phage, and she gets the first turret of the game. Renegades back on the board a bit here. Trying to bring it back in, but you know, that's okay. Coast knows what's happening. Dragon number 3 is going to be theirs. Yep, they put Nash in the bot lane to shove that out. They allow them to go after the top turret. They might be able to get to over time. Oh, this is interesting because Coast can go hard for bottom lane tier 2. They can join Mash with the Braum and the Elise. And depending on how well Chris can wave clear, that could be a turret for nothing. And Mash is the shot caller, too. You know he's going to pull people towards him. There they go. They're, like, I don't know if Zed can 1v3 this. The Azir can shove the wave, then join, then make it a 4v1. And Alex can try to wave clear, but I think this could be very interesting. 4 guys top lane as well, though. Bloodboy and Kog'Maw has plenty of damage. Alex does go down. He trades for this ward, but that's all right. Here comes the push. Both teams trying to knock down parts of the base. Top lane tier 2 is going to go down. So does bot lane. But it's 2 inhibitor turrets that are about to be contested here. Peek and Wolf's going after one. Azir can turret bomb very effectively, and then you also have Mash, who's just pushing out the bottom lane. There's way too much pressure. Chris, he'll try to stop some backs here with his boomerang, see what happens.
Coast don't all in as much as I think they could have, though. The turrets themselves not worth a lot of gold, so you don't need it for the boost in power, but they really just mostly focus on getting the map controlled. Mid lane is down to half, bot lane barely got touched at all, and a blue buff steal, of course, is nice. Coast chooses to not go for an inhibitor turret.
Oh, he went in.
There's the exhaust and the Q into stun.
Yep, didn't even need Shrimp there. Just very, very fast pickup. Not able to snap back to his shadow for that 1 second.
And that's why I'm glad every single support should be going exhaust against melee assassins, because you just stymie what they're trying to do. Smart by Conquest. And that's, by the way, a preview of what can happen with all these further Alex pushes. Like I said, I really like the fact that there's a Braum here and an exhaust and an Elise, because you can stuff those engages.
I wonder if Alex, if they end up losing this game, will go back to a different champion that is pokey.
Very potentially. I mean, this seemed like a really interesting plan by Renegades, right? Come into the game saying, we're going to change the style, we're going to focus mid, we're going to get Alex ahead, and he's going to crush Peek and Wolf. I think that's actually smart. I think this is the best one-on-one matchup for Renegades. If you were to pick a player differential, I think this would be the most Renegade-favored one.
When I come into a game, though, and I want to crush mid lane, I don't pick Nunu. I pick something that's going to gank heavily and apply a lot of pressure and have good 2-on-2 skirmishing.
You're right, going for like a Gragas and like forcing that to go even farther. Yeah, I guess then it's like a hedge between that and then Maple Street just having a Nunu Kog'Maw.
Yeah, they just want to have a 4-man unit that they protect, and then Alex each split push. But getting Alex each ahead would involve having kind of a better jungler to actually execute on that plan.
I feel that. You're right. It does diminish plan A to help plan B. So interesting to watch this comp play out here. Still sitting at about 6,000 gold for Coast, though. That last trade of turrets was so much better for these guys. It just felt like they'd gotten much more out of it.
It's a Baron time. Coast, they do a lot of 20-minute Barons. There is TP on Chris. He has priority bot lane. He's still up 3 levels over RF.
Oh, dear. Well, RF is at least close to 11, so at least it'll turn back soonish. But yeah, it's over 2, and right now it is at 3.
There you go.
And now the jungle's being taken away. This is actually rough. Crumbs is no longer really able to get farmed. Not that it matters a lot on Nunu, but just the golden experience on the map is going much more towards Coast over time. And that makes it get worse and worse and worse for Renegades here. In game 1 here, Chris pressing in on RF. Looks like it's going to be Black Cleaver into Frozen Mallet. And once he gets that item, by the way, I believe he can chase RF forever. And this is a good Glitter Lance.
And you were talking about how Coast just keep taking the jungle now. I was looking at some interesting stats, so bear with me on this. But Coast take 60% of the jungle in a game on average.
Yeah.
Now to give you some reference, when you're winning, of course you're going to be taking more jungle. But Fnatic in Europe, 18 wins, they only control 58% of the jungle. So Coast, relative to their opponents, take more of the jungle, even in their losses on average, than Fnatic does.
Yeah.
That's how oriented they are on counter jungling when they have an advantage. They take your Raptors with their mid laner, they put Chris inside the side by lanes by himself, and he takes those camps, and then Shrimp is always counter jungling. They control it through and through. You saw them get the blue buff previously, and they're just going to keep doing that.
Well, it's still looking good. The lead's still sizable. We're going to see the state of the minion waves as Coast continues to control the jungle and everything else here.
They're monsters.
They are monsters.
This is what I hate in solo queue.
When there's nothing to farm. Yeah. And then your mid laner takes like the Raptors. You're like, but
can I at least smite it? Can I just get some of that, please? But no.
The answer is always no. All right, Nashor's Tooth, Zhonya's for Peek and Wolf. So he's actually got the ability to survive the Zed all in pretty cleanly, and also just has the high DPS build going in. He's a hard target. Chris has about 4, okay, I'm going to say 3,500 health.
That's a repel onto the Baron.
Oh, man.
They saw him go up, though.
And Zed was bot side, though, which means, though, that there can't be enough reinforcements yet. 4,000 health, and you're still, though, you've got a flash Nunu. This is a risk here for Coast. He's got Black Shield on. He's going to get it! Crumb steals the Baron, but now what's going to be the backside of this one? They kill him off, but there's a Kog'Maw looking to deal damage. Conquan is a hit away from dying, flashes out and stays alive. Zed not into this fight. He's actually still on the bottom side of this fight. Here's a TP in from Mininar. He's going to go for the slow. Lands it. Remilia's going to die for this one. Now Maple Street on the chase down, has Black Shield on, won't do enough damage. It's a 3-kill pickup for Baron. Mash does dash away.
3 for 0, but they give up the Baron. That was a Nunu with the Black Shield. You're trying to keep him out of the pit. You can't. He's going to flash in, and he's going to try to steal it.
That was a communication issue, though. Wait 5 seconds, and then have Peek and Whip just ult him out. Like, literally flash ult him, and then E back into the pit. You get a secured Baron. Communication error. Great steal by Crumbs. And we have a wash.
That is one of the problems with Coast, though, because Shrimp is Korean. He doesn't speak a lot of English. He's getting the basics down.
Yeah.
Kong Kwan is actually a very good person to have on this lineup because he speaks both English and Korean, and he understands cultural barriers and things like that. So he's able to translate mid-game, but that takes time. Lost in translation there. You can see Peek and Wolf just tries to jump over the wall. Doesn't work out for him. Should have waited just a little bit longer.
Yep.
Stop DPS. Poke him over the wall. You guys can tank Baron for a little bit longer. You're fine.
And it was rank 5 consumed, by the way. 1,000 true damage to add to the 700-ish smite.
It's a miss smite, too. Smited it down to about 200.
Yep. I mean, at that point, you're just trying to bet against the Nunu cast animations, hope you can get it right. And
At least Q versus Nunu Q.
Significant disparity by about 4x. Dragon of the game finally goes to Renegades. The Baron buff on a couple members seems to be enough power to force Coast away, and Renegades are maybe mounting the beginnings of a comeback. They're still down 6,000, but that 6,000 gold lead has remained the same for a while. Coast play very long games because their shot calling not the sharpest in the middle to late game, and you're seeing it pay off right there, giving a Baron away and losing control on Dragons. Actually really relevant here.
Not setting up in time for the Dragon is big. Delays that 5th Dragon, which, you know, ultimately delays...
You just killed 3 people. How do you not set up Dragon?
Exactly. Which ultimately delays, of course, the game time. But giving up...
Kog'Maw scales.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's another big thing.
And
is
Lulu
this
catches up.
This Kog'Maw is just going to shred through people very effectively, especially since Chris, he's all HP. Percent HP is... health damage is really good against that.
Yep. Zed has 2 versions of that on his items and his passive. Kog'Maw has 2 versions of that on his items and his W. Life could be difficult. Right now we have Mash boldly actually splitting against the Zed. That would always scare me a little bit. Kong waiting the wings without exhaust. You would have to ult to knock up Zed. Peek and Whip still getting a lot of farm though. Has the Magic Pen core. Death Cap or Void Staff I think should be next for him. Could be an even bigger team fight threat. Keep in mind, an actual 5-on-5, Renegades still only have that 1 threat, and I would still take Natural Truth Azir plus Lucian over Love-Boiled Kog'Maw.
Kog'Maw Zed with a lot of physical damage there, relying a lot on Kog'Maw's magic damage, his percent HP.
I think it's solid. I think there's a decent mix in this comp.
Yeah, I like the Frozen Heart from Shrimp, though. That's definitely going to stop both of their major damage dealers.
Absolutely.
RF with the Hourglass and a very poor man's build, because he's down 90 CS at this point.
All right, mid lane pushed around.
Man.
Alex, it's chunked out by a nice culling from Mash, going halfway between Phantom Dancer and the Blade of the Ruin King. I actually think he might stop on Zeal and go into Ruin King, and he has Zeal for the move speed, which is an interesting build. I'm not sure if it's optimal, but we'll see as it develops. Sitting actually, the gold lead is growing, by the way. We're up more than 7,500 now, so Coast, despite giving up Dragon, have still continued to crush minion waves better, take the jungle better, get farther ahead here. And Baron's timed up at this point, so assume it didn't happen. And Coast continue to farm up pretty nicely. Taking the time on this one, though. Next Dragon is very far away, as is Baron.
For Chris, this is the duel I'm talking about.
Does not land the stun, and Alex has to flash away. That is big. Chris ulted and flashed to get out. Big summoner spell down. And Chris has got to be careful. He does not have teleport. He does not have home guards at this time. And he'll have to buy some armor items. Probably a, I would say, okay, he is going for the Randuin's Omen. I was going to think Thornmail, but it's not what he's going for here. Bigger health pool, definitely relevant. Chris sitting at 2,800 health while Mininar.
I like all the wards in Renegade's jungle. I would like to see Shrimp pick up the upgraded sweeper. He's sitting on 1,400 gold. 1,500 gold now after this can't clear. But RF, oh man. He is down 3,000 gold in the top lane. Basically a full item behind. Oh, look at this though.
Looks for the flash Q. Alex is going to flash away. Misses the ulti as well. Nothing picked up. Youmuu's to run. And actually Mash not really getting a lot of damage, but Shrimp can look for it. Good dodge on the cocoon. Alex gets away.
They still have absolute control of this game, though. Up 7,000 gold. They have a lot of turret pressure. They have split push. They have...
He just ignores him. I mean, takes some damage, but Consume heals for a lot.
Wolf basically saying, one day I will have a Rylai's, and that will not be a good decision.
Until then, though, it heals for 250, and Nunu's going to feel okay.
Let's see. There's a minute and 15 on Baron, and like I said, Coast still have priority in these lanes. They can still push them up very far and force Renegades to shove them all out. So next Baron comes around, is Crumb's going to have another Miracle Steal? Even if they do, they're still just waiting on spells to, not spells, they're waiting on levels and power spikes. They're waiting for late game on Renegade's side.
But I mean, I don't think either team is strictly, like, obviously better in late game. Of course, Renegades needs to wait because they're so far behind, but I'm curious to see how the waiting game goes, though. Again, Renegades, I think, actually one of the smartest teams in terms of shot calling in Challenger. I would say as you get to closer and closer tense situations, I would trust Renegades calling better. And I don't think Coast should allow that kind of situation to happen. I think they need to keep the pressure on and find ways to push farther ahead. Granted, they got so far ahead early. We're only 29 minutes in. I felt like we've been talking about team fights for half an hour already.
They got really far ahead. I remember 12 minutes. It was a 4,000 gold lead. RF, though, still now over 100 CS back, and he had to just blow his flash in a one-on-one just now. Setting up for the Baron, though. 10 seconds on it. Everybody on Coast backed, so they forfeited some vision control of the area for items, breakpoints. Rylai's Crystal Scepter completed. Locket completed for Shrimp.
I want to see Coast bait this. I want to see them keep pressure on mid, force Renegades to react to Baron, and then get behind them and push mid down.
They're all waiting in this push. They're looking for the pick.
Puts the shield up. Ulti's going to stun a lot. He's not dead yet. He's going to get away pretty cleanly. Has to burn some spells for that one. Still getting pummeled by Maple Street. The flash. Oh, good dodge by Conquan. And a flash from Crumbs is actually a big deal. It means he cannot steal Baron with flash anymore as Conquan keeps running. And Alex is going to lose the duel. Wolf and Mash. It's a 2-on-1. They knock him down. Support dies, but that is still worth it as Coast have pressure on the map.
Is Chris going to catch anybody with the boomerang? Doesn't look like it.
No, Coast could just push mid
right now. They're going to keep going.
This is interesting. They're going to go for the push on the kills. Mash has got to be careful.
This is why they have so many kills in the game.
Mash flashes in. He wants Maple. They're going to get him Black Shield or not, and Mash still stays alive. He's life-stealing, but he's going to take so much damage. Gets chunked down. Can't steal enough. Gets killed up, but there's still more kills coming through. It's a 4-for-2, all said and done. Crumb's going to be the 5th, and that means Baron.
It's a full ace there, 5-for-2, and they still have great damage dealers in the tank left. They're going to pick up this Baron, no problem, just like you said.
What a smart call by Coast to go for the kills there. It does pay off. I think they had the road in on mid, but the kills were correct. They get Baron off it as well. Big lead for Coast.
Coast are just the biggest proponents of instrumental violence. They're going to kill your entire team to get other things. People talk about how kills aren't the way you basically win League of Legends. It's not team deathmatch.
But they unlock the way you win League of Legends.
They understand that a little bit less than everybody else. They average the most kills per game, and like I said, everybody leads every role on this team. 4 kills, save for Conquan. Oh man, they just keep forcing this too. They have the inside track, they cross through. You can see even just flashing over the wall to start this, get the red buff on to take out Maple Street, and they realize once they kill Maple, very easy to go through the rest of the lineup. These are basically all supports sitting here.
Yeah. They kill the big damage dealers. Really smartly called, and Coast get control of Dragon. Number 4 is theirs. It would have been 5, but here's the play in towards Chris. But he's a pretty durable guy. Alex gets stunned up. He's caught alone. Can't go anywhere, jump or not. It gets taken out. 13-5. Coast have control even more.
You keep thinking these are going to be duels. It's going to be one-on-ones. Nope.
Nope.
2-3 people show up every time.
This is what happens when Coast actually can maintain map control quite well. Once again, Shrimp going for Sightstone, getting some wards up, and doing a good job of making sure that his team get to the fights on time and with the right people.
Baron, 4th Dragon, ready to push down these turrets. See what they can do in the siege situation. Wolf, he does have the Rylai's Crystal Scepter. A lot of damage on this Azir. You can see his turret goes up, ready to siege. While Chris is pushing bottom. He doesn't have TP, but he's just a stone's throw away right now.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too hard for him to show up on this one, but sieging going to be difficult. Alexich missing his ult even after he respawns for a few seconds here. Chris getting harassed, but, you know, not so much. Still has not really bought MR that's not Merc Treads, but doesn't seem to care. Baron up minion waves are nice.
Yeah, in Meganar he has 330 AD. Elixir of Wrath already. He's using his ultimate to basically be a gigantic heal in a team fight. Yep. I love Elixir of Wrath on Nars.
It's pretty solid. Remember way back when Dan would go blue elixir on Rammus for the cooldown on Ball Curl, as it was more durability than going for the tanky elixirs. I thought that was a really smart choice by him. Back in like Season 1 days. Shout out to Dan. Oh, Chris, though, jumps on, gets the shield. Yeah, out he goes. Alex realizes this is not going to work well for me. And just blows a couple of item cooldowns, but mid lane under pressure. Bot lane already dead. Chris unlocks that one. And now without Deathmark, Coast can feel a lot safer. Locket shield popped actually by Shrimp, and they stun up Crumbs. There's the push, there's the kill. Stolen away by Conquan. He wants in on that metric, and now bottom inhibitor down.
And they back up immediately. They don't even go towards mid. They're going to back, buy items, clean out the jungle on their way out. Is that what I'm seeing here, Shrimp? Do you want a grump?
Yes, of course he does.
Yeah.
Shrimp wants a feast here.
He pings all the camps. Take them all.
It's a shrimp buffet down here in the jungle, man. He's going to get as much gold as he wants from it.
Maximize it. Oh, he just counter jungles that too. Make sure they can't pick it up. Yep. This is the starving style that Shrimp likes to have, not just with vision, but just CS. You can see his gold. He's only 1,000, less than 1,000 behind his laners. Yep. Some of them.
This is the standard Coast gold distribution, by the way. Their top ender gets a ton of emphasis here. Actually, Chris, the richest man in the game, first to hit 14,000 gold, but Shrimp is never far behind that one. I mean, this is Coast style. There are 4 places to get farm, and they use all 4 of them. And it's a very rich play style, lots of kills in the team, and so far they have not found really competition in the Challenger Series. Jat said he wants to see how these guys will do against higher performing teams. And the way things are going, Coast will find those teams in the spring split, but we are still multiple Nexus kills away from that point.
Yeah. Oh, Chris found Crumbs in the jungle. Can't get over the walls. There you go, you flash. But you're still slowed. Frozen
Mallet, Hyper, not a chance. They're going to give the kill over to Chris. He steals it. Of course he will. 3-0-8 for him. Pretty flawless game on this Gnar right here. Had to blind pick it, did wonderfully. Top lane tier 2 is going to go down. Looks like the inhibitor turret now in their sights. 30 seconds on Crumbs' respawn.
This is what happens when a lane swap goes poorly for you and you don't play it out right. You can see RF.
There's more. There's more. Zhonya's popped into the back line. They go. Mables are going to get jumped on. Zhonya's popped by Peekin to stay alive. Alex exhausted, runs away, dodges the stuns, but it's still 2 kills picked up. Top and inhibitor turret goes down. The inhibit self will also fall. And Coast getting more and more and more. There's a minion wave in the bot lane. They might push to win the game off this.
Yep, they're walking towards it, not toward that middle turret, and they're just going to try to bomb these turrets down and use all the damage they have.
Nunu's back up, but the guy he's supposed to buff in this Kog'Maw is not here. There's just not damage on this team anymore. Coast trying to push in, trying to make it a 36-minute win in this one. Turret number 1 heavily under fire. The minions are still there. There's turret number 1. Crumb still in the front line, getting harassed down. And this would actually be Coast backing off. Maple Street's up in 5 seconds. They don't want to risk this one. They've got a dragon to kill in 2 minutes. And that could be the game-winning push then for Coast.
You just want them to get 5th dragon because you called it.
At least they're sitting on their average for 4.
That's true.
At this point, though, if I was a shot caller, I would say be calm, go dragon 5.
Yeah, shove mid, shove out some side waves if we have TP.
Just sit in mid for a while and just chill. Get your elixirs, be ready to go. I would not go for Baron, though. I would just do dragon 5 into push. Even though it's only 15 seconds afterwards. I don't think you need Baron here, and it's actually a small risk of getting it stolen. All right.
It's going to be exactly that. Shove the mid lane. Ward up your right side.
He's calling to kill Scuttle Crab. And there's actually, this is what's so good about Coast, by the way, is they have enough wards in the jungle to see where Renegades are. Renegades cannot death brush because they'd see him going in. And that actually allows like someone to go solo the Scuttle Crab while feeling safe doing so. Really small point, but actually really matters in recall situations like this, that you know you're not going to get surprised.
Oh man, Chris doesn't even go for an MR item. He feels like he doesn't need it. And I like that his build is targeted towards splitting versus Alex. We pointed that out very early on, that he's just shut down RF very hard.
He's actually double RF's minion farm at this point.
Yeah, this is...
It's a significant disparity here. Mid lane under fire. A little bit of damage going through. Actually pretty nice culling. Wow, Crumbs! Oh, Chris, I think he thought he had flash and looked for it. Okay, mid lane under fire. It's going to go down. They do not wait for Dragon after all. 12 seconds on that spawn, but third inhib's going to be picked up cleanly here. And there's minions coming into the base. This could be game 1 right now for Coast. Renegades need a miracle to survive this battle, but so much damage comes out of Peekin Wolf. The next wave comes in right now. There's a super on the bot side. Top lane pushing in at the same time, as well as reinforcements from mid. There's the minion wave gone. Here's the push. The last turret standing. 38 minutes in, there's go to the back line. He tries to do some damage on Zed. Now Crumbs in the front, gonna get jumped on. Peekin Wolf knocks him around. Crumbs falls, and there's still damage coming through. RF ults himself. Will Zonas to stay alive. Vermilia on the fountain, taking some damage, goes down. Top lane turret's gone. There's the Nexus opened up. 38 minutes on the dot. The Nexus going down, and game 1 goes to Coast.
in honestly a clear-cut fashion from the lane swap get-go.
Yeah.
Exploiting a mistake. You don't take that first turret in response to the lane swap, well, they have a gigantic lead over you, and Pika Wolf was able to diffuse all the pressure and dissipated everything that was coming at him. He blew a flash, he died once, but he stayed even in CS. So Coast was just mounting this gold lead off of freezing lanes on the side, and Chris brought that home. He brought the gold in for the team, and that gold advantage just off of CS too.
Yep, highest CS in the game, highest gold in the game. His co-participation of 15, also highest on the team. Chris did a lot of work in that one, building a pretty good hybrid of damage and tank, going for a last item, Ruin King as well, to make that one fun. And Coast, I mean, this Coast game looked like Coast games. It was, you know, a early to mid-game win off of having very strong plays, primarily from Chris, abusing his just raw skill level. He's too good for Challenger, it feels like.
It keeps happening. It keeps happening.
Every time, you know, Chris keeps getting the LCS. This would be his third direct qualification into the LCS, and if you count the fact that he left, actually no, sorry, this is the same team as previous Coast, kind of, but yeah, his third time qualifying directly into the LCS, having a poor performance on his team, and then saying, well, I'm still going to crush Challenger and go right back into it.
We're going to make a point that it's a different team?
Yeah, and I realized
there's three new members.
It was Velocity Coast, but then it was Coast again.
But there's three new members on this team.
It's
so
hard to say that it was
different.
a different. It's a different roster, but it is the same team, same organization.
Okay.
I would argue that like Fnatic is still Fnatic in that case. It's splitting hairs. It doesn't really matter either way. Yes, new lineup once again. Chris is here once again. He's crushing in the Challenger Series. Coast up 1-0, and for more on tonight's first, we're going to send it down to the guys on the end.